All righty. Good morning. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Just to introduce myself before we dig in and introduce the panelists. So I'm Eitan Stern. I'm the managing director of Legalese. Legalese is what we call a creative legal agency. We are a legal practice that's built specifically for tech companies and creative industry companies. We're building the law firm of the future by changing the way that lawyers work, making the service a little bit more affordable and a little bit more accessible. So that's me. Um, but more importantly, today I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today. That's Renier Lombard from FTC and Lauren van der Bell. She's a lawyer at Legalese. Lauren runs our data and compliance department, does a whole lot of interesting work for our clients, which she'll tell you about a bit more later. um, Today's topic, now, yeah, I'll introduce you in a minute. Today's topic's a really interesting one. It's all about personal branding. So, in this modern age of digital marketing and digital media, a very valuable asset for us is for entrepreneurs, for business owners, for people, for influencers. It's our personal brand, right? If you think on the top level of it, of the Kardashians, they make millions of their personal brands, able to license it for certain things, able to build a career of it. On the other end, entrepreneurs are able to use their personal brand for selling in their business, which Renier is going to chat a little bit more about. So the topic of today is how we utilize our personal brands and how we utilize it for in our businesses. On the flip side of it, it's really interesting to think about the legal side of it, right? It's one thing to use your personal brand, put yourself out there um, for your business to make money, for commercial natures, whatever it is. It's quite another thing to protect it, right? They're not just protected. I mean, I was alerted to an issue this morning. I mean, when you're putting yourself out there, your personal brand out there, there's safety and concerns, there's identity theft. There's those sort of aspects which are definitely important to think about. The other aspect of it is protecting it from a commercial point of view. How do you make sure you own what you're putting out there? How do you make sure that you control it? How do you make sure you paid the fair value for it? So we're going to be tackling this from both sides. We're going to kick it off with the Renier Lombard from FTC, talking about how to use your personal brand. And then we're going to pass over to Lauren, who's going to be chatting a little bit from the legal side about how we protect it. So to kick things off, Renier Lombard. Renier is the managing director of FTC. It's an incredible agency that is geared. They do a bunch of interesting work around personal branding using LinkedIn. They've also run a full agency. I've known Renier for a good couple of years, since he was running a small agency in a little office in town, doing social media, doing a few different digital aspects. And now he's running a giant agency as he's found an amazing product market fit for some incredible work, and they really are the best in the business at it. So I'm going to hand over to Renier to talk a little bit about how companies and entrepreneurs can use their personal brand in order to maximize their business. Renier, over to you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks, Eitan, for that wonderful introduction. Really appreciate it. And you know, when Eitan and the team asked me to come and speak about this, I of course said yes. I'm very passionate about personal branding, very passionate about LinkedIn specifically because it's a tool that we as business owners, as businesses, can use, and it's a tool that we can develop to really go and find the right people, use our personal brand to go and engage with the right people, to find partners, even to find investment. In business, we do business with people that we like, know, and trust, and it happens anywhere that you go. So, how do we break down those barriers to entry, that trust, that likability, that knowability? And that's what really the essence is. And I want to firstly start with a bit of a story as to how we got started and why we do this and why it's so powerful. So this was about 5 years ago. We wanted to go get more business for our business. And, you know, being a digital agency, we would do campaigns, we would do a lot of things to actually go and do that. But we never actually got the big ticket business that we wanted. So then this individual reached out to me and told me about this personal brand / social selling kind of strategy that we could use on LinkedIn specifically. So I said, oh, well, this is interesting. Let me have a look at it. Went to this day event, did a bit of outreach, and I was able to book meetings using my personal profile. And that just absolutely blew my mind. I decided then to start deploying that strategy for our own agency, to start creating this asset, which is my personal profile on the platform. And really, you could do this on other platforms. It really depends on where your clients are, where your clients live and consume content. If they're on TikTok, if they're on Instagram, you could do it there as well. But LinkedIn's very much more of a professional, professional kind of space. If you are in B2C, you can use it for your company. And we started doing this for our own agency, and wow, we were able to pick up the most amazing work around the world, to a point that I actually had to stop reaching out and engaging because we're too busy. So fast forward a year after that kind of session and really doing it for ourselves, we started doing this for people and found how powerful it can really be. A lot of people don't understand that, from a marketing perspective, an engagement perspective, our company content just doesn't get that engagement and reach anymore. It might have gotten it in the past when social media just started and kicked off. And if you even find it now, your company pages, your company content doesn't get engagement because people have come to this point that they just don't engage with content from companies because they always feel like they're being sold to, if that makes sense. And it'll be interesting to know, if anyone here has engaged with adverts or content, and you kind of don't really engage with it because it's not really engaged. You might click on it here and there, but it really doesn't get great organic engagement. So we started creating this service and this essence behind championing the people behind the companies and really taking them down a journey, taking them down a build in public approach. This is the individual. This is what they do. This is how they run a company. This is how they find clients, how they fire people, how they go after challenges. And that really, that strategy is a personal brand by all means, and not just a company focused kind of campaign that they're putting out there. If we are doing things on LinkedIn, it's literally maybe 10% that you speak about what you do and how and the kind of service you offer. If you do visit my profile and you look at the content, you'll never see this is exactly what we do. This is the service we offer. All that kind of that selling happens privately. So we try and add value in public. We try and educate. I try and share a lot of my hurdles, my challenges, and that really creates engagement that then we can take into the next level and engage with and then take them down the sales funnel. But to be honest, my personal profile is probably the biggest asset the company has from a media perspective, a social media channel side. We might not have hundreds of thousands of following, but we have a very quality following, a very engaged following. And individuals that follow my page, the essence of the company, the vision, the mission comes through the owner or the founder's kind of voice, because that's who we want to listen to. That's who we want to engage with. It's very similar to we call it the Richard Branson effect. If you see a Virgin Atlantic post or content piece, you're probably not going to engage with it. It's like, oh, they're just trying to sell me another package. Richard could actually post the same content on his page, and he'll get 10, 20, 30 times the engagement because we associate ourselves. We've built up a brand affinity with him, and he's really used his personal brand since the beginning, and he knew the power of it to really get his companies to get to the next level, and he used his brand to market his companies through him. So we do this for individuals. We teach it to individuals. I really highly recommend individuals use these personal brands that we create to then go and market your companies through you. Also, it doesn't cost a lot of money. It just costs time and energy. You don't have to go and spend thousands and millions of bucks to start a journey for the personal brand journey. Just knowing that it is a journey and it's going to take time. It's not an immediate thing that you're going to start this today and you're going to get onto stage tomorrow and you're going to go onto webinars like we are here within the first kind of few months. It is something that you have to work on and build. But anything of worth, anything of substantial value is worth building. So this is what I advise a lot of young business owners, even young individuals that are starting out on their journey. Get onto LinkedIn and start posting, engaging, start taking people down a journey of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And it's not just a highlight reel. It's something where you can share, you can engage, you can actually ask for advice. You have to, a lot of the clients that we work with, they're very scared to post very personal kind of stuff. And within reason, you don't have to post, hey guys, this is the kind of lunch that I just had. But if you did have a lunch with a colleague, or if you had a lunch with a client, you can post that. And a lot of people try and make LinkedIn this big thing, and this is, whatever I post is going to completely either make or break me, but it really isn't. Trying to humanize your brand, trying to become more accessible is the key. The personal brand itself is really trying to make sure that who you are in a real day-to-day basis is being transferred and being communicated on the platform, because that's where you get relevance. That's where you get people that either love you or hate you, and you are going to get haters. Not everyone's going to resonate with the message that you put out there. Not everyone's going to be able to articulate what you're trying to say, but that doesn't really matter. You need to go after the fans, the super fans. And if you are a bit of a polarized individual, use it to your benefit. The more polarized the person actually is, the better that they do. Take, for example, Paris Hilton. Probably the first person to really be an influencer, if you had to call her that. She was the individual that pioneered influencing and became that individual. And she's an exceptionally polarized person. You either love Paris Hilton or you hate her. There's no in between. There's no, okay, I'm in the middle fence. It's either you love her or hate her. And she really used that to her advantage. And she used her personal brand to grow and build what influencing is now at the moment. So I say to individuals, if you are a bit of a polarized person, you want to share things, please do so. There's nothing wrong with it. You are going to get people that don't want to do business with you. You are going to get people to not want to use your service because they just don't relate to you. But that's absolutely fine, because you're going to get super fans that do relate to you. And I guess there's a lot of legalities behind using a personal brand. And I think the real essence is try and be a positive experience in someone's life. From a personal branding perspective, I say to everyone that goes down this journey is to try and not detract from someone's journey, and try and not be that person that people for example, don't talk about politics or religion. Don't harm anyone's journey, if that makes sense. If you want to talk about certain things and you want to debate about it, you can. And you can use it to engage and to take people down a conversation, but try not to be someone that detracts from someone's kind of journey that they're going after. So LinkedIn as a platform is probably the most powerful of the platforms to build a personal brand. A lot of individuals will argue it might be Twitter as well, which you could do. But Twitter is very American focused. You want to go where your audience are. A lot of people in South Africa, yes, you might use Twitter, but it's for bad reasons. A lot of people troll on Twitter. It's very negative, very toxic. You can be Dave today and you can be Philip tomorrow. And you can go and actually change your profile and you can engage and troll if you want. And I find it quite a negative, very toxic kind of place. So I don't even touch that platform at all. LinkedIn's a very positive, very growing a place that really helps people develop their businesses and their vision. So what I can advise, a lot of the individuals that want to start this journey is to go and just update your profiles, get a foundation going, because that really is your landing page. And I'll share my screen in a minute to really show you what that looks like. And the foundation is the profile. Really go and update and make sure that it looks good, it feels professional. Because if you are going to be posting, if you are going to be building a personal brand, you want to drive people to somewhere that grabs that data, that database, and that is your profile. You're going to develop a following. You're going to develop connections, and you can develop engagement that comes to that page. So that's where you want to really sell, and that's where you want to grab all that attention. So the personal profile is the asset that you build. The company pages are really just static. You can't even engage with a company page. You can't even send them a message or ask them for their service. You have to go to the website, and then there's certain stages. So if you are going to be deploying a personal brand strategy on LinkedIn, it is your personal profile. And I'm going to show you a few relationships that I've developed by using my personal brand, and relationships that have changed our lives and our business. And I say this to everyone that's going down this journey. One relationship can change everything. It really can. One relationship can bring in half your revenue within a certain amount of space. One relationship can introduce you to your next 100 clients. And if we focus on building a brand, an asset that goes after these beautiful, big one relationships, it can change everything. So you don't have to go and get 1,000 people following you. Go and focus on 10 quality engagement and relationships, and drive those relationships into the next kind of phase of where you're going. And guys, this is available to anyone. You don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You can be an employee. You can build a voice around what you're doing, how you're doing it. And building a personal brand, you should do it for when you don't need it, if that makes sense. So starting a few years before you actually need it is the actual key. If you do go down a personal branding journey, you start communicating and engaging and building a following, just know that that is an asset that you can fall back on in the next 2 to 2 to 3 years, because you're building it now build it for when you don't need it. Because if you do need it now, you're 2 years late. You're 100% 2 years late. Because you can't just immediately go on this platform and then boom, connect with one person and post one thing and think it's going to work wonders and magic. You have to be in it. You have to be experiencing it. You have to be failing at it. You have to be posting and engaging for a lot longer before you even need it. So if you do know that you're going to start a business in maybe 3 to 5 years' time, start building your personal brand, because that's going to be a network that you can reach out to, a network that you can engage with, a network that you can sell to. And that's when you need to start it. So it's a very long-term focus. It's not a short-term mindset here. It's not a start today and this is going to be a platform that's going to benefit you in the next week. It really is a place to build. It's an asset that you can use, but it's only going to bear fruit in the next year to 2 years' time. It's very similar to a lot of the very big YouTube personalities you see out there. Take Mr. Beast, for example. Mr. Beast posted hundreds, if not thousands of videos for 10 years before people noticed him. He started at a very young age. He went and no one viewed his videos, but he was persistent and consistent. And he would post all the time, and he would fail at posting and see what's working, what's not working, put stuff out there. And it just started ticking over and getting better and better and better. But the only way he could find the stuff that he was actually posting working was to go through years of posting stuff that didn't work, that people didn't view. So it's the same premise. He's big now, and he's got millions of followers because he's been doing this for plus 10 years. So keep that in mind. And this is an asset that you build. A personal brand is an asset. It's nothing that you're just going to wake up tomorrow and then it's going to be a certain size. It's an asset that you start early. The earlier, the better, to be honest. If someone told me to start my personal branding journey 10 years ago, it would be a completely different story as to where we are in business at the moment. And I could probably say that my personal brand is our company's biggest marketing asset, biggest social asset. And the personal brand, it's not just for me to say I own it. It's actually the company's asset. It is my company at the end of the day, but it's the company's asset to use to find clients, to find talent, to find investors. I've been on this journey with certain individuals, and only now an investor has come to us and say, Renier, I love what you guys do. I've been following you for the last 2 years. How do I become part of your company? How do I invest in you? I didn't go out to this individual and say, please buy my company. I've had investors come to us and say, you guys are doing such great stuff. How do we become part of this journey? So if you do want to go into a space that you want to sell eventually or get investment, start it now. Start that engagement now for future. I was going to say, let me share my screen quickly and just show you a few examples. So this is my profile. It is the asset that I've been building for the last 5 years. And guys, I only have 12,000 followers at the moment. I don't have a lot of our clients have a lot larger following. A lot of people I know have a lot larger following, but it's not the followers you should be concerned about. It's not the amount of followers, it's the quality of following. So the followers, and it's just a metric at the end of the day. You just need 100 clients to buy your product, and you have a big business, so you don't need thousands of people, especially in the service-based business. But the profile itself is really the asset that you build. This is the one that you have to champion. If you're not a creator, go put yourself into creator mode and start posting content. Content is probably the best way to engage and communicate what you offer and to drive traffic back to this page. I'll show you a viral post that I did the other day, and this post was absolutely mind-blowing. And this is how our content can actually really drive your personal brand at the end of the day. So check this out. I did this post. It was literally a video of Terry Crews with a Springbok jersey on. Like nothing about business, very chilled. It was about the World Cup. We're going into the weekend, and this blew it out. 400,000 people viewed this, and everyone that viewed this viewed my name, and they clicked onto my profile. Not everyone, but I think I had 1,000 profile views come from this, and they saw our company name. So your brand comes with it. Your company brand comes with it, and from here we were able to pick up 6 high-quality leads just from this engagement. And this is what a personal profile and brand can do is when they click on this and they look at it, they go to your profile. This is where you sell. They look at what you do. They look at your about section. They look at the other content, the engagement. They see all this beautiful social proofing behind your personal brand. And then they can scroll, they can look at recommendations, and it just answers all their questions before they need to ask it, if that makes sense. So as someone that is in sales, my biggest challenge is to make sure that I attend to objections before they become objections. Do I trust you? Do I know you're going to spend, if I'm going to spend money with you, if you can do what you do? Are other people using you? Is there positive reinforcement from the community? And if I can break down those barriers before someone becomes a lead, the best thing you can do. So very, very, very powerful. What I can highly recommend is, using your profile to go and do this. I can speak about it the whole day, really. I can speak about using this, and there's a lot of nuances behind this, from Sales Navigator to content posting to strategies that you can use. But to be honest, it's a self journey exploration. Everything's online to learn. YouTube, you can follow my profile for more kind of advice and strategy that we use. You can do this by yourself by looking at YouTube, and it's really driving that personal brand behind it. Now, guys, by all means, I'm not an expert. I don't say I'm a guru. I just I've done enough mistakes to know what not to do, if that makes sense. And we try and help people just understand the absolute value that this can create. I've traveled around the world. I've spoken on events. I've spoken on webinars. I've spoken on multiple podcasts because of my personal brand. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. And yes, do protect it. It's exceptionally powerful, exceptionally important. And I think Lauren's going to share a bit of information on how to protect that brand. And if something does go happen, using the protection mechanisms behind it, and really helping you create a foundation that if it does get to a space that you need it, that it is available. So yeah, guys, I'm very passionate about this. Please do start something if you haven't started something, because it is and could be your biggest asset in your professional life. Yeah. Over to you, Lauren,
Awesome.
and back to you, Eitan.
Thanks so much. Renier, thanks so much. And I really, really resonate with the one aspect that you're saying of the stuff doesn't come overnight, right? Some people can be overnight successes. There's a few Justin Biebers out there that load a video onto YouTube and get signed onto a label, but for most people, it's a slog, and it's about building that consistency, and it's about building that social proof, and that takes time, as it should take time. But that's fantastic. Thanks so much. Super informative. I really appreciate it. Going to hand over to Lauren van der Bijl. Lauren is our head of data and regulations. She is a lawyer on our team, and has a lot of experience dealing with companies around different tech-related issues. And Lauren's going to be chatting about how to protect your personal brand. So Lauren, over to you.
Thank you so much, Eitan. Today we'll be talking about the legal side of protecting your personal brand. As Eitan said, my name is Lauren. I'm the head of data and regulations at Legalese. And yeah, this is not only what I deal with on a day-to-day, but what myself and my colleagues deal with. And it's just helping, from creatives to startups, just protect their brands, protect themselves when doing business. Essentially, the overview of my talk today is going to be understanding what is a personal brand, and I know Renier has gone into it, and basically help us understand what it is and what it encompasses. And why is a personal brand worth legal protection? This is also something that Renier touched on, and essentially talking about the asset value of your personal brand. Next is what legal protections are available for protecting your personal brand. And then just a nice overview on how to exploit your personal brand within contracts, and what contractual terms are important for you to look out for when you're going into business with other parties, and just making sure that you're covered. So what is a personal brand? Touching on basically what Renier had covered, is an article by the Harvard Business Review discussed the distinction between your reputation and your personal brand, which they said often gets confused. According to the article, your personal brand is how you want people to see you. It's about your visibility and the values that you outwardly represent, as opposed to the opinions or beliefs that people form about you through their own experience with you. A personal brand is really how you present yourself to the world. So no matter what type of personal brand you have, if you're a creative, you're an entrepreneur, whatever you are, your personal brand will include your work, what you create, your personal style and beliefs that are represented within your work, and anything that automatically distinguishes you from someone else or anyone else or anything else. So why is this worth legal protection? Well, personal branding is legally protectable because it involves the creation and the use of unique trademarks, copyrights, and, as Renier said, intellectual property assets. Your brand is an asset to you. Your personal brand, as I said, is what will differentiate you from your competition and allow you to build trust with your prospective clients or employers, which is a lot of what Renier said about what the value in creating your LinkedIn profile, even before you think it might be useful to you. If you're not effectively managing your personal brand, you run the risk of losing out on opportunities, which is a lot of what Renier had said. If you're not set apart from the pack, then, clients or employers or brands, they're not incentivized then to use you because you're not distinguishing yourself from everyone else. So the next bit, or the big chunky part, is what legal protections are available for your personal brand. Well, essentially, the core of it is that there are three possible ways. The one is through legislation. There is legislation that's designed to automatically protect your personal brand and the assets that encompass your personal brand. The most common way that we understand is copyright. So the Copyright Act in South Africa protects copyrightable work automatically where the work meets the criteria set forth in the Act. There's nothing to be done. It becomes protectable because of meeting that criteria. For example, artwork, etc. The next one is through registration. So this is more commonly what we might also know in trademarks and logos and branding. These are all things or intellectual property that you can register. Trademarks are, however, territorial, meaning that a trademark registered in South Africa is not necessarily protected and registered in another country. In our country, trademarks are registered with the Companies and Intellectual Properties Commission, so CIPC, which is the same body that you register companies, private companies, non-profit companies with. The last method, and the method which offers the most security, is through a contract. A contract is the easiest form of protecting your personal brand when engaging with clients or other brands or possible employers. A contract will ensure that everyone within that business relationship has their interests reflected and protected. A contract can be anything you make it as long as it records a lawful agreement between the parties. So when you're considering protecting your personal brand because you've grown it, you've worked hard to cultivate it, there are some contracts that are worth noting or having in place. The first one is terms of engagement. So terms of engagement are also known as back of quote terms. And these are the terms that you've created to regulate your relationship with anyone that you work with. So for example, these terms might say how long you're going to give your services for, what kind of services you give, what your payment terms are, anything that regulates your business relationship with a client that you give to someone when you work with them. This is especially important for service-based offerings, whether you're an artist, even us at Legalese, this is what we use. The next important agreement is a service level agreement, and service level agreements covers the provision of services. So it can cover a broad spectrum of things and it can relate to any sort of service being provided. These are the most common used because it can cover anything, and typically most of us will be aware of this type of contract. The next one is a licensing agreement. A licensing agreement regulates the licensing of intellectual property. So it could be software, it could be a trademark, could be a name, it could be anything. It's just the provision of the licensor, being the person who holds the license, providing the right for it to be used by someone else subject to payment of a license fee. The next one is a NDA or pitching agreement. So most of us through the internet and movies and TV will be well aware of a non-disclosure agreement. A non-disclosure agreement just means that someone else is prohibited from talking about the information that you guys discuss for a certain period of time. An NDA may also be structured in such a way to protect a pitch or an idea. So when you're entering into a relationship with someone and it's not quite at the point where you're entering into a service agreement or more formalized agreement, but you want to protect the ideas that you're bringing to the table or that you're putting forward, you can do so through a pitching agreement. The next one is influencer or agency agreements. We're in the age of influencing, as Renier said, that was set forth by Paris Hilton. And it's super important and common for these kinds of agreements to now be in place, whether it comes from the influencer themselves with a brand that they may be working with, or through agencies like FDC or other agencies that look for these people in order to, because of their personal brand, in order to work with them, in order to grow. So these are not all the contracts that might be in place or might be present, but these are the common ones that you come to find. It's having a contract in place is fundamental. It's not enough to formulate and define your personal brand, but you need to make sure that it's protected. So, how to exploit your personal brand within a contract. In most instances, a contractual relationship might be once-off. Although this can be profitable, you want to ensure that your brand has growth and protection and that you can exploit your personal brand to its fullest potential. There are several ways to do this, but one of the ways that's most common is, as I just touched on now, licensing. By licensing your personal brand or aspects of your personal brand, you not only ensure that you retain control over how your brand is used, who uses it, and who uses it, but depending on how you structure your licensing relationship, this can be a continuous income stream for you through the payment of license fees. So in the start, when we were doing the introduction, Eitan spoke about the Kardashians. If you think about them, their brand is not only their faces, it's their names, it's the brands that they're tied to, the companies that they've created. Through licensing, you can have each of these aspects be paid for and have other entities that you're happy to align with use your brand. And in this way, it's a continuous income stream for you and a way to grow your brand. The next way is through usage. Usage is very similar to licensing, but if you think about it from a different angle, when you create work for commercial use, let's think of an artist, for example, any form of artist, there's a possibility that the work that you're selling or, essentially it's selling, the work that you're selling, that it may be used beyond the initial agreement or for reasons that weren't defined within the initial agreement. So similar to licensing, in a usage agreement or within usage terms, you can dictate exactly how your work is going to be used. And for each of these uses, you can define what you should receive for that use and how long that use can continue. For example, in the case of an artwork, the initial agreement might be that the artwork gets used for marketing by a certain brand, but if the brand wants to use that marketing, for example, on billboards, that can be a use that's charged for separately. If they want to use the marketing on products, that will be a separate use that's paid for separately. So by dictating usages, you ensure that you're profiting from your services to the fullest extent possible and ensuring that your personal brand is not exploited without your knowledge and without receiving remuneration, therefore. The last way is through royalties. So depending on the intellectual property that encompasses your personal brand, intellectual property that you create or that you collaborate on, you can earn royalties from the continued sale or use of the intellectual property within that brand for years to come. A big example of this is through music, books, or television, for example. A very common example is the actors who did Friends. For years to come, they earned royalties through the show being streamed, the show being replayed, and it was a continuous income stream for them beyond the initial tenure on the show. So, to round off the discussion, I thought it would be very useful to talk about important contractual terms. Sometimes it's not always easy when you're starting off to bring every contract that you receive to a lawyer. So I thought we would touch on things to look out for if you receive a contract to make sure that you understand what you're getting into and what you're signing. So when you get a contract, it is important to look out for terms that relate to and affect the working relationship that you're going to have, and any terms that may disadvantage you. So when opening up a contract, the first thing to look out for is commencement and termination. You need to know when your contract is going to start and when it will end. And if there is no fixed termination date, you need to be sure that there are ways that you can terminate the agreement. For example, on 30 days notice or by agreement with the other party. It's important to understand these terms and to be aware of it so you know your rights. The next very important part is, are the terms of the agreement clear? Do you know what you are doing or what you are providing? Any ambiguity may lead to exploitation. You need to be clear on the services that you're giving or that you're receiving, and it needs to be detailed. If there's too much ambiguity, it leaves too much room for there to be misunderstanding. And as I said, exploitation. You might give more than you initially planned. Next is payment terms. You need to be very, very clear on what the payment terms are. How much will you receive from this agreement? When will you receive this agreement? When will you receive payment? Payment could be made once off. It could be made in tranches on certain dates. It's important that this is made very clear. And then along with payment terms are the things that I just discussed is there any usage? Is there any licensing? Are there going to be royalties? All these things need to be fleshed out within the agreement so that you understand what you are getting and to make sure that you get exactly what you deserve for what you are providing. The next important aspect is there a breach and dispute resolution clause? This is extremely important in circumstances if you are receiving payment. You want to understand what you do in circumstances where the other party has breached the agreement. What are the steps that you need to take? And if those steps are exhausted, how do you resolve the dispute that has been created? Without a dispute resolution clause, it leaves a lot of things up in the air, and it then becomes a back and forth with the other party on how to then resolve the issue at hand with no clear steps in place. So it's very important to ensure that these clauses are there. And the dispute resolution clause also need not be something that just says you head to court. There are lots of other mechanisms within which to resolve a dispute. It just needs to be clear and fleshed out. And then the last aspect to be aware of is there a data processing or POPIA clause within the contract? Especially as someone that's now entering into agreement based on the use of your personal brand or your intellectual property, you want to be sure that the other party is processing your data lawfully, that they're keeping your data secure, and that they're taking all the efforts to be compliant, regulatory compliant in this respect. It may not always be necessarily POPIA. If you're working with bigger companies, they may take a GDPR standard. So you just want to be clear that this company is not disregarding the importance of data compliance and has taken all the necessary steps to protect not only your information, but everyone else's as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's essentially the legal side of protecting your personal brand and making sure that you get the most out of your personal brand when contracting with other parties.
Alrighty. Lauren, thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you. It's super interesting. Really nice to pair the practical side with the legal side as well. I'm wondering if there are any questions from our audience. Let me have a look and see. No one's asked questions just yet, but if there's people that want to ask questions, now is the time. You also feel free to raise your hand. Okay, if there are no questions, that's also totally cool.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah,
I'd love to actually ask Lauren, as you're going down this journey, what is the most important thing one should do from a legal perspective to protect yourself now, before you start this? Is it I would love to just know your opinion on that side.
I think when you're starting off is just to be aware of the things that I pointed out. Go into things I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking questions, right? If you're creating a personal brand and that's starting to get you interest and engagement, and you're starting to get work proposals or things, ask questions. Don't just jump at, the first opportunity. Ask what you're getting into, what it involves, how long is this going to go on, what do you need me to do, what am I like, how far am I involved, with I think people are afraid to ask questions in case they go, what if they pick someone else? I just want to take this opportunity. But I think it's important to flesh out the opportunity and flesh out what you're getting and what you're giving, so that you're clear. Because as I said, ambiguity sometimes doesn't always work out in your favor. So it's just to go in eyes wide open and eager, and not be too afraid to get stuck in the nitty-gritty, so that you know what you're doing.
I also want to add to that and say, I think the important thing is to understand that you're running a business with your personal brand, right? If you're making money of it, it's a commercial asset to you, and that means the way you utilize it. If you if you do business badly, it's going to affect badly on your personal brand, and that's going to have a negative commercial value to you. And if you do it really well, and you're Richard Branson, and people trust you as the face of business, then it's going to be a really good thing for you and add great value. So I think just it's a starting point, just understanding that is crucial. Yeah, I think it's a super interesting. And I think it's the future continues on this journey, right? I don't think we go backwards to say cool, let's just plug money into Google AdWords and that'll be the way you market. I think as the internet gets filled with more and more rubbish, and chatbots can churn out more and more content, I think trusting people is really the future of it. And in doing that, it's important for us to understand our value. Renier, I've got a question for you. I mean, from a safety side, what do you think of that? Do you have any concerns around safety if you're putting your brand out there? I mean, are there chances of people utilizing it? Or have you seen your clients, people have their identities stolen, or it have any kind of negative safety ramifications for them?
Most definitely. And where it really happens? Not on LinkedIn. It happens on Instagram, and it happens on Twitter, it happens on Facebook. On LinkedIn, it's we've never experienced an issue. We've never experienced someone duplicating their account or using it as from that kind of perspective, because it's a professional kind of platform to engage and put your personal brand out there. Also, you're not posting where you live. You're not posting very specific personal stuff that people can then use. I'm not going to post my ID number on a post. So you need to protect yourself in ways that is, if you can't put it out on LinkedIn, don't do it. Don't put your ID, don't put your I live at X location, don't get into these disputes and have arguments on the actual thing. And we haven't had issues. I know of clients that have had issues on Instagram, on Twitter, where their profiles are duplicated and they use all their images to go now get content and put up fake information, false news. And remember, LinkedIn is not it's from an individual's perspective, not from a company's perspective. So yes, you do get fake news and fake kind of stuff on there, but you can see it quite easily. And I think, just to touch on your point also, Eitan, the age of AI, the age of Unreal, people are just going to crave more real. They're going to crave more authenticity. They're going to crave more individual, kind of brands, because we want to trust what we absorb, and we're going to become very, very much more guarded from a media side that we consume, because we don't know what's real and fake. So if we follow a person and there's a video and there's certain things, we trust that a lot more. We trust people and not just companies, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Okay, cool. I don't know if there's any more questions, but that's fine. If people want to get a hold of you, Renier, I'm pretty sure they can do so on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If
go
people
and
want
connect with me, go and follow me, and I'm quite accessible. So if you do send me a message, I will reply. Yeah.
Awesome. And if you want to get in touch with us at Legalese, that's no problem. Just get in touch by email. We have one question here. And one of the questions, we've got a question on, actually asked through LinkedIn. What is the first step to take when a contract is breached? So, Lauren, do you want to tackle that? So if you've got a contract with a client, you what?
I said up to you.
Yeah, sure. So you got a contract with the clients. Maybe you've contracted around. I mean, and maybe this is a little bit broader than just personal branding. But what if you're in a business contract, what's the first step that you should take if your contract has been breached?
So essentially, you first need to look if there is a clause that speaks to what to do if it is breached.
Mm,
Typically, that's the first point of call, and that's a very lawyer thing to say is go look back at your contract. But yeah, you need to check if there's a clause that speaks to what to do in that situation. Normally, if there is a clause, it requires you to kind of reach out to that person and let them know that there's been a breach, and allow them a certain number of days in order to come back to you to fix the issue if they're able to fix it, pay what they haven't paid. And should you receive, I guess, no feedback from them, typically there should be steps to follow. And that's what I've led back to it there being a dispute resolution clause, because there should be steps that you should take. Do you need to go to courts? Do you need to go to mediation? Your contract should state
mm,
that. And if it doesn't, unfortunately, that becomes then something that you and the other party then need to go back and forth on what you want to do in order to resolve the issue. But it all comes down to communication, unfortunately, with the other party, or fortunately, depending.
exactly.
But the core of it is communication with the other party and kind of
Yeah.
working
Person has no.
positively.
Yeah, this isn't the era of smart contracts yet, where there's like an immediate thing that just
No.
happens if the contract's breached. Although,
It's
that's where it
coming.
does get really interesting. But yeah, you need to communicate. If someone has breached your contract, you need to communicate with them, tell them, and ask for what you want. Really interesting question. Thank you. Um, okay, cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We have
Thanks so much.
we do this webinar once a month. Next month's a really exciting one. We've got the CEO of Pages now who's coming on, and we're going to be doing a conversation with him around his journey to get to this point.
That's awesome.
Renier,
Exciting.
thank you so much for joining us. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate your time. Off to Joburg tomorrow morning, getting married next month, or a lot
Yeah,
happening for you, so I appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Lauren, thank you as always, and yeah,
Sure.
thanks to everyone for joining. Appreciate it.
Thanks all. Chat to you soon. Cheers.
Bye.